We're tired a little bit of looking at properties, to be honest, but we have high hopes. We are not giving up. And anyway, we're just trying to do our due diligence, choosing where in such an amazing country that has so much to offer nearly everywhere. We're Brittany and Drew, two hopeful adventurers who got married, moved into a van, and have been chasing adventures all around the globe ever since, and are now searching for a place to call home here in Portugal.
Subscribe and join the ride.
Welcome back, everyone, to our little home park next to the cork oaks and beautiful vines here in Portugal. At this point, we've been in Portugal for round 2 of our Portugal property search for about 2 months now. Last summer, we spent 2 months here, as many of you know, searching for our dreamland. We've been searching from central Portugal all the way down to the south in the Algarve, where we will be headed in our upcoming episodes. Because as much as we have fallen in love with the river beaches and the lakes up here, we know that our first love was the southern coast of Portugal. So before we make any decisions, we must return, but in the meantime, we have learned so much looking at so many different kinds of properties, and we want to share with you some of the insights that we've learned, because moving abroad is not an easy process, no matter where you choose to move. But what makes it easier is that you know that you love the country that you're choosing to move to. And that's what Portugal is for us. So many people have asked us, why not Spain? Or why not do one of the €1 properties in Italy? And as much as we love those countries as well, for whatever reason, Portugal has been pulling on our heartstrings ever since the first day we came here in 2018, when we were in our European van life honeymoon journey.
But first, our friend Liz is going to help you guys with some phrases should your heart guide you to search for property in Portugal as well.
Hi guys, this is Liz from Talk the Streets. Now, since I moved to Portugal in 2017, I've been helping people from all over the world with practical Portuguese. And I would love to be able to help you and anyone else out there with their house hunt in Portugal. So here are some important vocabulary and phrases that you will need when you're looking for a house in Portugal.
Stay tuned till the end of this episode for an exclusive lesson from our favorite Portuguese teacher on the block. Because as we know, knowing a little bit of Portuguese here goes a long way. Not only does it come in handy when dealing with realtors, but also reading the property listings online, because a lot of them are only listed in Portuguese.
And the quicker that you can learn the language and decipher the points, the less you have to copy and paste into Google Apps or Google Translate.
It's so true. And some of the websites we've been using in our search for property include Pure Portugal.
Yep. Idealista.
OLX.
Cairo.
There is Remax and some of those companies that you guys might know of back in the States.
The whole system of purchasing and selling property here is very different. With realtors, there's usually a buyer has an agent. That buyer's realtor actually gets a 5% cut of the property's value. It's not a split situation where there's 2 realtors involved most of the time.
While so much of this process is foreign to us, literally, what has helped us is remembering that it's just going to take time and that we're going to be learning a lot along the way, and to be patient with ourselves and each other and the properties that we are and are not finding. We've also realized that, as we suspected, property searching during the summer, when it's the most crowded and nearly everyone is on holiday, is not the most ideal time to be looking at real estate. Pickings are slim, and prices are also at a premium during this time. Something that we learned this time around versus last year when we were here, and I don't know how we never looked at a property that had a separation of urban versus rustic land.
This orange part, it's like the urban part. In the green areas you cannot build. In this plot, let's say you have till down there.
And so the area closer to the road is the only place?
Yes.
Okay, you can build homes.
And the house is the actual blue box?
Yes.
Rustic land you cannot build on, you cannot live on. You can do so illegally, which quite a few people do.
There's thousands of people all throughout Portugal who live in unpermitted structures, and that's something that may change more in the future. But really the ticket is having a ruin that was built before 1951, because then as a default procedure, it actually has a habitation license, and that is what we have figured out is kind of the loophole to the whole process.
Because without habitation license, your land really isn't that valuable.
Unless you're purely a farmer. If you are growing tons of olive trees or madroños or I don't know, avocados, whatever it might be, then that could be income producing chain for that land.
And also that 1951 rule where if a building was built prior to that, that year changes based on the different municipalities.
Yeah.
So in the Algarve, I believe it's 1951, but
Yeah.
in Tomar, I believe it's 1988.
In Santarém. Yeah.
Yes, and that is because they did a survey of the land way back in the day, and if there was a structure there, now that ruin still has the habitation license. Even if that home, which we're walking by the bee boxes and through the forest of eucalyptus and cork oaks to get to, was made with mud, or cob, called clom in some parts of the UK. But basically, it's a home made of clay-like lumps of soil, sand, and straw, which can be quite resilient in the right climates.
Oh, hi. Just in time for the tour. Come on in.
Ow! Thorns. Ooh. Aw, it's cute.
Thank you. You could do a lot with a brush hog and some chainsaws and some hedge trimmers.
Yeah. I don't think this is doing it for me.
It's crazy the way this is on here.
It's cool though.
It's crumbling.
Yeah. Huh. Hmm.
Here's a look from the backside. It's cool, you can see right into it.
It was also cool to see the cork oaks up close, which are harvested every 10 years, without harm to the tree. And then the cork grows back. Amazing. But regardless, this property was too far in the middle of nowhere, and the vibes just weren't doing it for us.
We're going that way. Moving on.
Something you don't know until you get there.
Adios.
Every property we see is different, and honestly, you don't know everything based on the listing until you go to look at the property. You might not know that there's a huge antenna right next to the property that they've somehow angled all the photos not to show you.
Yeah.
Not because they're trying to trick you, they want you to come look at the property.
They also think they can give you the better insight or experience or maybe sell you on the whole thing if you actually come out and spend your time looking at the property.
They don't want you to solely judge based on the fact that it's like on a road.
Other situations, there might be a dog kennel next door.
And to make matters even more confusing is the fact that you can purchase something that doesn't have a habitation license, but that has the hopes that once you fix it back up, it could have a habitation license.
Yeah.
Drew and I happened to fall in love with this little tiny chapel set amongst these giant granite boulders and
Even had a stone
greenery.
table out front.
Yes.
Like I felt like I was the sword in the stone.
And I felt like I was the girl in the magical secret garden. We would have to put a sword there.
Am I the one? I think this was the inspiration for the movie.
I think this is the most special property we've seen.
I love that it's on a ridge and tucked in and like hugged with all these granite walls, all the rock right here.
Beautiful.
That's definitely more modern, but beautiful.
Look at this. This is the underground annex. I forgot about that part. There's a whole underground section.
I just want to point out your socks and sandals.
Oh, don't mind me. There's really some pricklies. There's some pricklies out here.
Pro tip, anytime you come to a viewing, make sure you wear shoes.
The door's open.
I think there's a staircase that goes into the chapel. A secret passage?
I'm in love.
After you.
Oh my gosh. This is the coolest thing ever. Do you remember when we went to the Quinta de la Draguilera?
Yes.
I don't know if I'm saying that right, but this is like a miniature version. Just so you know, this is 70,000 euros.
Wow, it feels like air conditioning.
You can see under the stairs. Oh my gosh. It looks like there was a table around a big pole, And I can see the flooring of what I think is the church. We're like the last generation who could save this kind of a place before it closes in on itself. But again, I don't know what that takes.
A lot of Portuguese questions, we know that much.
Yeah. What I also want to mention is that when we saw this listing online, they don't show you that the walls are bowing in or that the underground room is basically turning to rubble. They show it to you in the photos as if you could walk right through and you could make an art studio underneath the church.
Idea. They just said there's an annex underneath.
Yes, but then you show up to the property and then you discover there is a rock road, not a real road. Maybe there's nowhere to park.
This is what we call the sniff test. We're actually here, boots on the ground. We're hearing, feeling, walking around, checking things like this out, understanding actually the scope and the size of some of these places.
Smelling the fresh rosemary bushes, anticipating the fresh figs.
We did stop to smell the roses.
Yes, and smelling all the roses. I envisioned we could maybe host weddings here, but being that the chapel was located in a neighborhood, what kind of a permit do you need for events? So it's really hard to get answers to your questions. That's basically what we're trying to explain here.
One other thing that you guys might have heard in the news that put Portugal on the map and all of the Mediterranean, a lot of Europe, is the wildfires.
Yes.
Holy cow, that is a wildfire right there. I don't know what caught on fire.
Better hurry up and cross that road.
Wow, it is just like raging.
Well, it's really
Wow,
hot.
you can feel the heat in here.
Whoa.
It smells so burnt right now.
Hopefully somebody puts that out soon.
I sure hope so. I wonder what started that. Different municipalities, depending on the situation that's going on, have PDM maps that show the fire risk of the area and a specific property. That also affects some of the rules that have changed over the recent years. Portugal had a fire back in 2017 where 100 people were killed, unfortunately, which is a really sad situation. Based on this, different people who had plans and building situations submitted through the Camera to be approved. They kind of put a kibosh on them and will only allow those people to build smaller footprints than what they had anticipated or hoped to have, which in my mind doesn't really make a lot of sense because it's not the structures that are affecting the fires. It's the fact that there's so many rolling, sprawling rural places with a lot of eucalyptus trees, a lot of just forest that isn't maintained, and that's the part that's burning. And then it gets to the homes, but most people know to clear out the land immediately around their home, and I don't think it should be what the decision for square footage of a home should be based on.
But being that we've been here during this intense heat wave with the wildfires,
it's so dry here right now.
Making sure that we choose a property that is not in a very high risk zone for fires has been at the top of our list.
Yeah. Also, just considering the topography, is there a road that's maybe somewhat near of it to be a fire break, or is there water on site, along with how densely forested that particular piece of land is. Having land with water that's not dependent on the city, the municipality, the mains is a huge thing for us. Having a borehole, aka a well, as well as maybe a pond we could pump from, or a stream like some of the watermill properties have had.
We did fall in love with this little tiny windmill up on top of the hill outside of Tomar, but
it does have a big power pole next to it.
This is cool. Okay, I'm coming in. Whoa.
Hey!
Cool.
I love it.
Wow. Okay, staircase.
Staircase up, and there must have been a floor up here somehow.
This would be the loft bedroom. Just make a little tiny kitchen. And you'd build some sort of a shade structure for the camper. Speaking about building shade, which is what Drew is doing behind me right now, he's setting up our super lightweight and portable awning, our moon shade, which is the most versatile form of shade that you can bring just about anywhere. You can hang it in the trees, you can fasten it to the side of your car, but also it's an excellent way to have a little space to enjoy next to your camper van. We like to use the suction cup mounts. They also have awning railing mounts, and they're super strong magnetic anchors. So whatever kind of a structure it is you're trying to add shade to, it's as simple as this. Anchor point, carabiner, support leg.
Like nunchucks.
And by checking out moonfab.com, entering in your email, you will get a $15 off coupon. And let me tell you, this has come in handy in so many different places, especially because behind me here, all these campers, they're taking up the shady spots. But have no fear, the moonshade is here.
And with a simple setup like that, we can do more of what we love. Perfect.
Great job, babe.
Thank you.
Now enjoy the rest of a tour of that windmill.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, we liked it a lot. I'd have to say this is probably one of my favorite properties so far.
The view in the window just sitting here is like incredible.
Wow, there was even tiles already.
You can see our camper right down there.
And I love that it's round. I love round things. Whoop. A little spiral of good energy. Look at this.
Maybe?
Maybe.
Maybe?
I like it. But unfortunately, alongside the giant power pole, we learned that it didn't have a water source. No connection to the mains, and no borehole. Which we've learned can cost upwards of...
Could be $10,000, could be more, could be less.
So
depends how deep you have to go and what the water table underneath the soil looks like.
And the realtors don't know the answers to these questions. And so then you are left to have to work with maybe a land surveyor,
an engineer, an architect.
I don't know who tells you about where the well can go and stuff. But
a whole bunch of different professionals, essentially.
So it's a puzzle. It's not as simple as it may seem. And as much as we want to pop on here and be like, we found our property, you know, it's a process.
Yeah.
And another property that had us questioning all of our criterias and believing in all of our hopes and dreams was this, what looked like an old schoolhouse of sorts. Loads of potential.
Here you have already some history.
This is a historic home.
Here it's the double level, okay?
Yeah. So both of these could be opened up with permission from the town hall. I think the original idea was that this would be a bed and breakfast.
Before, 1 year before, this was for sale, 65 hectares.
Wow.
And much more, the price, 490,000.
Wow, like $500,000 American. Yeah.
And now, as we didn't sold, they think, oh, well, we keep the big part of the land for our family. They will do nothing with it because it's autochthonal forest. It's protected.
Wow.
You cannot construct. So they will keep, and the size, downsize. The price is not separate yet. It's not done. They want to have first the buyer. And could take 3-4 months to have this done at the city hall.
To draw the perimeters of the
register
separation.
the new plot.
Okay.
Separate the two plots.
Okay. Right now we're in my favorite room of the house. We're under the stairs. Look at this, that little door. Oh, wow. And a little window.
We think it was built end of the 20th century.
This is written on a lot of the homes.
Yes, welcome.
Those who come for good.
Because it's a touristic project. So in this area it was for the guests and for the owners, a beautiful house upstairs.
But the only area that you could have an urban habitable structure was literally on the road. So you would have, I think it was like 18 hectares or like 27 acres. Something crazy like this. Yet your house had to be right next to the road. And that drove us crazy.
It'd be like having a huge box and you only get that little bit right there to build it.
And all that peaceful land you cannot live in. And while one of our top priorities has always been peace, at the same time we're like, maybe this is part of the bigger picture of creating an Airbnb, or like we had mentioned, a wedding venue. So anyway, we are flexible and open. We like being pleasantly surprised.
Even some of you who are Portuguese who now live outside of your home country have even commented in our videos, even being Portuguese coming back, buying property is tough.
Choosing where in such an amazing country that has so much to offer nearly everywhere. That has been the, biggest conundrum for us.
It's like going to a great buffet and where do you pick? What's going to be the first bite?
Especially when you have a rolling home. This has been the best tool for our property search. It's really allowing us to kind of stay longer and dig in and hop over here.
And some of you watching, we've connected with you well here. We've written emails back and forth. Some of you we've seen.
And sometimes when you think that you have found that property that's perfect, you get there and then for some reason the surroundings are just completely uninspiring. Like the land feels kind of dead, or
the road in just didn't feel right, or you just see some business along the way and you're like, ooh, I don't want to look at that.
Yeah, like a power plant.
Jinx.
We're on the same page and we have very high standards. We're tired a little bit of looking at properties, to be honest, but we have high hopes. We are not giving up. And anyway, we're just trying to do our due diligence. We are forging ahead, and hopefully some of this really helped you guys. With all of that being said,
just to sum up our requirements, we want something that has a permittable structure. We want water. We want privacy and a secure place, a place that's peaceful, a place that we always have said if we can drive our van onto the land, it'll feel right. And would we want to park up there for the night? Check that box. The answer would be yes.
And also, does it leave room for possibility?
Yeah.
Is this a flexible land where we could live there and then eventually transform it into some sort of glamping magical place for you guys to experience?
Or just for us to allow some of our creative endeavors or ideas to flourish in like a workshop setting that we could just tinker like Thomas Edison.
It would be our laboratory of sorts.
Yeah, your art studio.
Yeah. Along with that, we still want to continue traveling, so how do we secure it when we leave? Do we have friends who can look at it? Anyway, these are just some of the many questions, and
it's multi-tiered, lots of layers to the cake.
Let's take it.
Hi guys, this is Liz from Talk the Streets. Now, since I moved to Portugal in 2017, I've been helping people from all over the world with practical Portuguese. And I would love to be able to help you and anyone else out there with their house hunt in Portugal. So here are some important vocabulary and phrases that you will need when you're looking for a house in Portugal. Now, you might find the pronunciation of some of these things a little bit tricky, so if you do need some help, I do have a free pronunciation guide for beginners that will be linked in the description of this video. But let's take it slowly. I'm going to say it out loud once and you can repeat. So first of all, you need to start with the price. The word for that is o preço. O preço. So to ask the price, you will say, qual é o preço? Qual é o preço? Now, usually in Portugal, you can do some bargaining. So if you're going to ask whether it's a negotiable price, you can ask, é negociável? É negociável? It's helpful to remember that in Portuguese, words that end in BLE often end in VEL in Portuguese. So negotiable becomes negociável. Now, the size is also a really key question. The word for size is tamanho. Tamanho. So you're going to want to ask the size of the house, casa, house, and the size of the land, terreno, land. So those two questions would be, qual é o tamanho da casa? Qual é o tamanho do terreno? Now that double R, h, is really, really hard, but you can change it for a r if you also know how to roll your R's. Now, if you are getting an apartment, it's going to be part of a larger building, which we call the condomínio, and you will have to pay a monthly fee. So the question to ask about that is, quanto custa o condomínio? Quanto custa o condomínio? Then to ask what services it includes, you will say, que serviços inclui? Que serviços inclui? Maybe you're looking for a concierge service or some kind of security. So you could ask, tem serviço de portaria ou vigilância? Tem serviço de portaria ou vigilância? A very important question you need to ask about heating or a cooling system, because places get cold in the winter and hot in the summer, more so than you would think. So you can ask, tem climatização? That's a long word, so break it into chunks. Climatização. Maybe you're environmentally conscious and you're looking for solar panels. You can ask, há painéis solares? To find out what kind of services you have in the local area, you can ask, há serviços aqui perto? Há serviços aqui perto? So some examples of that would be cafés, restaurantes. Are the neighbours friendly? The word for neighbour is vizinho. Vizinho. So you will ask, os vizinhos são amigáveis? Os vizinhos são amigáveis? You can also ask if they are Portuguese. You probably want to be part of a community that is Portuguese. So you can ask, são portugueses? São portugueses? Now, there's usually a moment where you want to kind of get rid of the estate agent for a second and just take a look around by yourself. So, to look around, you can say, dar uma vista de olhos. Dar uma vista de olhos. So, for the whole sentence, you can ask, podemos dar visto de olhos em privado? Finally, you are going to want to thank your real estate agent for taking the time to show you around, so you can say, obrigado pelo seu tempo. Obrigado pelo seu tempo. To let them know that you will be in touch soon, you can say, entraremos em contacto em breve. Entraremos em contacto em breve. Now, if you love it, the verb for to love is adorar. So to say, we love it, you'll say, adoramos. Adoramos. The word for offer is oferta. So if you want to put in an offer, you will say, como podemos fazer uma oferta? Como podemos fazer uma oferta? So hopefully these phrases will guide you towards finding your dream property in Portugal. If you need more help with practical Portuguese, head over to my channel, Talk the Streets, and I would love to help you out there.
Yes, with all of that being said, let's leave you with a little tour of a beautiful little property that we explored on the western coast of Portugal.
Enjoy, and we'll see you guys next week.
We love you. Wish us luck. Send us all the vibes. We are being guided, and so are you.
And we're keeping persistent as the adventure leads on.
And helping keep each other sane.
That's right.
Trying our best.
And cool.
Yeah, it's... Sorry. There's a wishing well. Look. How far does that go?
Just a bit.
We need a rock.
Yes, but this one it has no water.
No water.
No.